What happens when you're abandoned by your biological father, and then another man steps in to assist in helping you become the greatest version of yourself and one of the most known people on the planet? And then after 5 decades, you finally meet your biological father. What happens? Let's find out.
So my mother calls me, says you need to meet your biological. I'm like, well, I'm good. 47, I got 6 kids, Mom. It's all good. So it's like, okay.
Why? For what?
I meet him. And then the crazy thing is, in Newark, New Jersey, there's this restaurant that I always go to, a soul food restaurant. And there was a guy in there, a chef. He always used to look at me and just start crying. And he was my father's best friend.
Really?
And my biological father lived upstairs. So one day we go to the restaurant, we have a good conversation. And it ain't about what happened, because I've learned you can't judge a man. I don't judge. You know, he had some problems when he was young. I don't judge him. I don't fault him. You know, my thing now is just that as long as we're both here, we just get to know each other. I don't ask him what happened. I know what happened, but I don't ask him. We don't talk about it. And I don't, hey man, how come you? I'm not the judge and the jury. My job is to just love him as much as I can now.
Do you talk to him occasionally?
Probably once every other week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's sort of like me. He don't like to bother people. Just, you know, he'll call me, hey, what's up, man? What's happening? What you doing?
So you get along when he's there? You talk about stuff?
No, we don't talk about anything. Just eat, have a good time.
Has he met your children?
He met my oldest daughter.
But she was glad to meet him?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good to, the history.
Yes.
You know, you got your roots. I mean, you see your history, whether she's active with him or not, at least she knows that piece of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
So Shaq had gotten to a point to where, I mean, almost 5 decades later, he really, the father didn't even really reach out to him as far as I can tell. He reached out to his father because of his mom, but he at that point in Shaq's life, he didn't really need him. He hadn't been around anything. He got everything that he needed from his stepfather, and maybe to some extent that was the best outcome, right? Because the biological father wasn't really stable, you know, doing his thing or whatever. I mean, to some extent, Shaq has to be at least grateful for that, right? Because, you know, if he hadn't done what he did, then Shaq wouldn't exist, and perhaps if Shaq hadn't if Shaq's biological father hadn't stepped away because he knew he was dealing with some stuff, maybe we wouldn't even have heard of Shaq, because if he would have forced himself to stay in his life being unstable, that would have led to an unstable home for Shaq growing up as a kid. And he was already on the edge. You know, Shaq had a lot of trouble growing up, right? So if he had combined that with a father in the home that was unstable himself, then we would have never even known who Shaq was unless he committed some crazy crime or something, right? So sometimes, man, it's just things work out for the best, like even when they're not in the most ideal scenarios, right? It's crazy how that is. Like, Shaq not dealing with his biological father may have actually really helped him out. You know, it sucks to say that, but sometimes that's kind of what it is. Man, I mean, it helps to know where you come from, and it bothers me. Like, why didn't the father reach out at any point? You know, I mean, he had to be at least in his 60s. You know, at that point, I would have been, I would have like hit the mom up and checked on him or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knew he was there the whole time. But I guess once Shaq blew up, maybe he just didn't want to come to him like he was trying to get like a handout or something. And maybe he felt disgraced or embarrassed to know that he had this dope son and he like had nothing to do with him for most of his life. I'd feel like crap if that was me. So Anyway, if you like the content, feel free to express yourself by the many means available on this page. Yeah, hit me up, all that other stuff.
Slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go.
There's more coming.
I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my